Let me name each part of the train for you. The mainspring barrel, the center wheel, the third wheel, the fourth wheel which holds the seconds hand, the escape wheel, the pallet fork cock, and the pallet fork. As I remove each of the train wheels, I'll get a close-up of them so you can see what they look like. We'll start by removing the center wheel. Now the fourth wheel. Now we will remove the mainspring barrel. Next, the third wheel. Now we'll go ahead and remove the pallet fork cock, which is held in by one screw. Now lift out the pallet fork cock. Now the escape wheel. And now we'll remove the pallet fork. Okay, here's a shot of the winding arbor with the winding and setting clutch in place. You can also see the setting lever and the setting cam. Here's a shot of the winding arbor with all of its parts laid out in their relative positions. Now we'll remove the set lever screw. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the set lever. And the setting cam. These are the banking pins. Be careful and do not bend these. Next, we'll remove the plate jewel screws. Take a piece of pegwood and gently press on the brass jewel setting to remove it. Please note that there is a hole jewel and a cap jewel. Now we'll start disassembling the mainspring barrel. On the mainspring barrel, locate the small slot at the very top under the cap. Insert a small screwdriver or your tweezers and gently pry up to remove the mainspring barrel cap. Now with either a pair of tweezers or a pair of smooth jaw pliers, remove the mainspring barrel arbor. Be sure to make note of the direction that the mainspring is in the mainspring barrel. To remove the mainspring from the barrel, grasp it in the center with a pair of tweezers or a pair of smooth jaw pliers. Place the mainspring barrel in one hand, wrap your fingers around it, and gently pull the mainspring out from the center of the barrel. Do this gently so you don't distort the mainspring. To disassemble the balance cock, first locate the hairspring stud screw shown here. Loosen this screw 1 to 2 turns, but do not remove it. With the point of your tweezers, press gently on top of the hairspring stud to free it from the balance cock. Here's a shot of the balance wheel with the roller table and roller jewel. Be sure to snug the hairspring screw down so it doesn't vibrate out. Now, remove the 2 screws that hold the balance cock jewels in place. If you loosen these screws off and they still won't come out, turn the balance cock over, take the points of your tweezers and gently push the screws out from behind. The procedure for removing the balance jewels is the same as used on the plate jewels. With a piece of pegwood, press gently from behind to remove the jewels. Note again there is a hole jewel and a cap jewel. This completes the disassembly of this watch. As you can see, all the parts are in a small basket that will go into the ultrasonic. I have the dial and the hands, the balance wheel, and the pallet fork, which will not go through the ultrasonic. They'll be cleaned by hand later in the video. Here's a shot of the ultrasonic that I used for watch cleaning. We'll place the basket with the parts in the ultrasonic. Another method of cleaning watches is the Watchmaster shown here. These machines were made probably in the 1940s. They are occasionally available on eBay for about $150. Here's a shot of the two chemicals that are used for watch cleaning. One is a watch cleaning solution and one is a rinsing solution. You will need both. Now we're going to clean the balance wheel and the pallet fork using a product called One Dip and a parts blower. With your tweezers, place the pallet fork into the bottle of One Dip and agitate gently for about 10 seconds. Use the parts blower to blow away any remaining One Dip. To clean the balance wheel, pick it up with your tweezers nearest the cross arm, put it into the One Dip for about 10 seconds, and blow dry with the blower. Never use your breath to dry parts, as the acid in your saliva can cause corrosion. Also, be sure to cap the One Dip when you're through because it will evaporate very quickly. Okay, let's get started reassembling the mainspring barrel. Examine the end of the mainspring. You'll see a small hole at one end and a little tab a little further up. That hole goes over the little catch in the mainspring barrel and the tab goes in the slot as shown here. We're going to use this tool called a mainspring winder to wind the mainspring up and reinsert it into the barrel. You want to pick the attachment on the mainspring winder that fits loosely inside of the barrel. Next, after determining which direction that the mainspring winds into the barrel, put the mainspring into the winder, insert the handle, and wind the mainspring back up, leaving about 1/2 of an inch of the mainspring sticking out. Now reverse the direction of the mainspring winder to release it from the mainspring. Now insert the mainspring into the barrel, making sure that the hole in the mainspring goes over the catch. Once you have the mainspring inserted into the barrel, grasp the end of the mainspring with a pair of tweezers so that the end of the mainspring doesn't come off the catch. Press on top of the mainspring winder to release the mainspring back into the barrel. Now we can replace the barrel arbor. Make note of the direction of the catch on the mainspring barrel arbor. Insert it into the mainspring barrel. Rotate it around so that the catch goes into the hole on the end of the mainspring. Make sure that it is secure. Now notice there's a little tab on top of the mainspring. It goes into the little tab on the mainspring barrel cap as shown here. You can usually snap the mainspring barrel cap back on with your fingers. If it's difficult, you can also use a pair of smooth jaw pliers. Next, we're going to use a product called Radico to remove our fingerprints off of the mainspring barrel. Now we can reinstall the plate jewels. First, take the whole jewel, drop it into the hole, and gently press it into place. Use a piece of pegwood to make sure that it is bottomed out in the hole. Next, we're going to replace the cap jewel. Line up the two notches on either side with the screw holes. You can use the end of your tweezers to press the cap jewel into place. Now replace the two jewel screws. Now we can replace the balance cock jewels. Start with the hole jewel and seat it with a piece of pegwood. Place the cap jewel in place, aligning the two notches for the screws. Press it into place with the end of your tweezers and replace the two jewel screws. Now we're going to lubricate the balance cock jewels. We're going to use a little small green dip oiler with just a tiny drop of oil. Place it on top of the whole jewel and use a smaller oiler to help wick the oil down between the jewels. Repeat the same process with the plate jewels. Again, do not over oil the jewels. Now we're going to reassemble the set works. We're going to lightly lubricate the winding arbor with a little bit of watch oil. Next, install the setting clutch. Lubricate the setting sleeve and install the bevel pinion. Install the sleeve and the bevel pinion as a unit onto the winding arbor. Lubricate the plates where the setting arbor goes in, and don't forget to lubricate where the setting lever and setting cam operate. We can go ahead now and reinstall the setting lever. And the set cam. And reinstall the set lever screw. Finally, reinstall the completed winding mechanism back into the plates. Now we're going to take a piece of pegwood sharpened at one end, and we're going to peg out all of the jewel holes to remove any of the dried oil that the ultrasonic didn't clean out. Insert the pointed end into the jewel holes and gently rotate back and forth to remove any old oil. Now we can start reassembling the train wheels. First to go in is the mainspring barrel, followed by the pallet fork. Install the pallet fork cock and the pallet fork cock screw. Make sure the pallet fork operates freely. Lightly lubricate the pallet cock jewel. Install the third wheel, the escape wheel, and finally the fourth wheel. Last to go in is the center wheel. Okay, now we can reinstall the train wheel bridge. Locate the train wheel bridge with 2 pins on the movement. Gently manipulate each one of the pivots into their jewels. You should be able to see the tip of the pivot sticking up in the jewel. Do not force this because you'll break the pivots. Once the pivots are all located, the train bridge should drop into place. Reinstall the 3 screws and tighten snugly.